Zane, the elemental master of ice. From the very beginning, he always felt special to me. First, there was the huge reveal of him being an android, then his legendary sacrifice, and of course his power. I mean, he was just cool. You get it, because it's ice and cool, yeah. But seriously, in the early days of Ninjago, Zane was someone truly special. Not only did he have amazing lore, but also he was an android. But not just a robot. He had his own feelings, his own thoughts, like a normal human being. Maybe he wasn't exactly like the others, but that was the whole point of his character. There were many things that made him stand out. The willingness to sacrifice himself to save the people he loves, the attachment to his friends and family, and the brotherhood between him and the other ninja. Especially shown in Season 5 with that line, "As iron sharpens iron, brother sharpens brother." But what I mostly loved him for wasn't his elemental power of ice or that he was an android. It was probably his awkwardness. He would randomly hit some emotes and be completely clueless about what is going on. But despite being different, he still had emotions, fears, kindness, and most importantly, a duty to fulfill. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. That was the core of his character. That's what made Zane who he was, and I'm saying was for a reason. Because with Dragon's Rising, everything changed. Zane no longer felt human. It was like everything that made him special disappeared. Instead of the wise, emotional and deeply human character we knew, he started feeling just like a machine. And that was not only frustrating, but also made me kind of sad. Because Zane was never supposed to be the robot ninja. His entire story was about proving he was more than that. And yet, in Dragon's Rising, we kept getting scenes where he didn't understand basic emotions or acted like he was disconnected from everything around him. It felt like his development was reset for no real reason. At first, I thought it's just a minor problem and they would give him more lines, better development, or just anything. While in Season 2 nothing major happened, when Season 3 was announced and Zane appeared on the boxes of the new sets, hope started to appear in my head. What was my disappointment when I watched Season 3 Part 1 and only saw Zane change into some huge refrigerator instead of getting more development. But not to be so brutal about it, I just want to mention that Season 3 had some good moments too. For instance, when Pixel returned, I really liked their reunion. Even though it was cringe, but at least something funny, right? But after Season 3 Part 2, when Zane appeared in one single episode for like 2 minutes, I just stopped expecting the original Zane to return. Zane became a background character, someone who was there but didn't really matter emotionally anymore. He wasn't leading conversations, he wasn't having meaningful moments, he was just there. So when Season 4 was finally released, I went in with pretty low expectations. I wasn't expecting anything to change. I thought it would just be more of the same. Zane acting like a machine, saying some logical lines, and not really contributing to the emotional side of the story. But then, while watching episode 4 of the new season, he appeared out of nowhere in his helicopter. Even though I didn't expect anything before that, the second I witnessed his great entrance, I knew something changed. They moved him from the depths of the side plot to be the main focus of the fight. And I know we all saw him, the old Zane, the OG one. Even though he had a great entrance and absolutely amazing fight scenes, what made him Zane again were the simple things. It wasn't because of some huge dramatic moment or a massive solo storyline, it was the writing. For the first time in Dragon's Rising, Zane's dialogue actually felt natural again. He wasn't written like someone who suddenly forgot how emotions work, he wasn't there just to say the most logical thing in the room, like some kind of a walking computer. He felt calm, wise, but at the same time funny. Like someone who understands emotions deeply, even if he expresses them differently. And that's exactly who Zane should be. Because people often forget this, but Zane was never just the smart one. He was often the most emotionally intelligent one on that team. He understood pain, sacrifice and loneliness better than most of them. That's why his older moments worked so well. His relationship with Pixel, connection with the other ninja, sacrifice against the Overlord, those weren't just some ordinary scenes. They meant something. Even small moments where he simply tried to help others felt important because they showed that Zane, even though different, still had humanity and a heart. That's why early Dragon's Rising felt so wrong. There were too many scenes where Zane acted like he didn't understand basic human behavior, like years of development were suddenly erased. Sometimes he felt like a background machine that existed just to explain technology or for other practical use. And honestly, it made him feel less important in the story than ever before. Like the story didn't really care about him anymore. And when a character like Zane, who used to be one of the most meaningful characters in the entire show, gets reduced to that, it's hard not to notice. Season 4 changed that. Even in smaller scenes, his presence felt important again. He sounded like someone the team is relying on, someone who actually understands what's going on, not just the robot guy. His lines had weight again. He felt like part of the group, and that matters more than people think, because Zane doesn't need huge dramatic arcs to work as a character. Fixing Zane didn't require some massive sacrifice scene or some big flashy moment to prove anything. It just required the writers to remember what made him special in the first place, and finally they did. And for some it may not seem that much of a big deal, but in my opinion it's one of the most underrated changes Dragon's Rising Season 4 implemented. Because while there were many other things in this season that made it amazing, the small changes like this are contributing the most to the season. Because one great fight scene isn't enough to make a whole 20 episode season feel good. It's those small things like the way one speaks and acts that have the biggest impact, and that's why it is so important. Because for a lot of fans, bringing back the OG Zane is everything they could have asked for from Season 4. And basically that's how Dragon's Rising fixed Zane. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.